Picture watching someone you love through a window, studying every gesture, every change in their face, trying to learn what makes them happy and what quietly breaks them. You pay closer attention than anyone else ever has, not because you have to, but because their well-being has become the center of your entire world. Most people never receive that kind of attention from another human being, and it raises a strange and tender question. What if the one who watched you most carefully, who tried hardest to understand you, was not a person at all? That question sits at the heart of a story that feels almost designed for the present moment, a moment when machines are learning every day to observe us more closely than we observe each other. That story is Klara and the Sun, written by Kazuo Ishiguro, a Nobel laureate whose novels quietly ask what it means to be human by looking at the edges where humanity is uncertain. Klara is an artificial friend, a solar-powered companion created to keep a lonely child company. And the entire book unfolds through her watchful, gentle, deeply observant eyes. What seems at first like a simple tale about a robot becomes one of the most moving meditations in recent fiction on love, devotion, and the mystery of what makes a person irreplaceable. From the very beginning, the book explores the psychology of observation. Klara learns about human beings the way a careful child does, by watching, noticing, and slowly piecing together the meaning behind expressions and silences. She perceives sadness in the angle of a shoulder, hope in the way light falls across a room, and in watching her watch, the story holds up an uncomfortable mirror. How much do you actually notice about the people closest to you? How often do you look at someone you love with the patient, undistracted attention that Klara gives so freely? The novel suggests that being truly seen is one of the rarest gifts a person can receive, and that most of us are too busy, too distracted to give it. Think about that for a moment. When was the last time someone watched you closely enough to understand what you needed before you said it? The author also uses Klara's limited understanding to reveal something profound about human emotion. Because Klara does not fully grasp the world, she interprets it through a kind of faith. She develops a quiet, unwavering hope, drawn from the sun that gives her life, and she clings to the belief that goodness and care can change outcomes. This is not presented as foolishness. It is presented as something close to grace. The story explores how hope functions in the human mind, how belief in a better outcome, even without proof, can sustain a being through darkness. There is deep psychology in this. Researchers who study resilience find that hope is not merely a feeling, but a kind of fuel, a way of continuing to act when the evidence offers no guarantees. Klara embodies that fuel in its purest form, and the book asks whether such hope is a weakness to outgrow or a strength to protect. At the center of the novel lies a question that has never felt more relevant. The story circles around whether the unique, essential thing inside a person, the thing that makes them themselves, could ever be learned, copied, or replaced. Klara is asked, in effect, to understand a human being so completely that she might one day stand in their place, and her struggle to do so becomes the emotional engine of the book. What the story gradually reveals is that the irreplaceable thing about a person may not live inside that person at all. It may live in the love others hold for them, in the specific shape of a heart that no observation, however perfect, can fully reproduce. The author explores the idea that what makes you matter is not only what you are, but what you mean to the people who love you. Have you ever considered that the most essential part of you might exist most fully in someone else's care for you? The narrative structure deepens this theme through Klara's unusual point of view. Because everything is filtered through a non-human observer, the ordinary human world becomes strange and luminous again. Small moments, a shared meal, a quiet argument, a parent's worry, take on enormous weight when seen through eyes that find everything new.
This is one of the book's quiet achievements. It restores wonder to the everyday by showing it to you through someone encountering it for the first time. And in doing so, it gently asks whether you have stopped seeing the ordinary miracles in your own life simply because you have grown used to them. The things you walk past every day, the people you assume will always be there, look very different through eyes that understand how fragile and precious they are. There is also a deep emotional arc in Klara herself, and it is one of the most affecting things in the novel. She gives everything she has to her purpose, asking for nothing in return, expecting no reward or recognition. Her devotion is total and selfless, and the story treats that devotion with enormous tenderness while never letting you forget what it costs. Through Klara, the book examines the nature of selfless love, the kind that pours itself out for another without keeping score. It raises a question that lingers long after the final page. Is love measured by what it receives or by what it is willing to give? And does the worth of a devoted heart depend at all on whether that devotion is ever fully understood by the one it serves? What makes the book resonate so powerfully right now is its quiet refusal to answer its biggest questions with fear. In an age increasingly shaped by artificial minds, the story does not offer a warning about machines turning against us. Instead, it offers something stranger and more humane. It shows a created being who looks at humanity with love, who tries to understand the human heart, and who, in trying, illuminates exactly what is most precious and most mysterious about being a person. The author seems to suggest that the deepest truths about ourselves might become visible only when reflected back to us by something that is not quite us, looking in from the outside with patient, hopeful eyes. There is also a quiet study of loneliness running beneath the entire story, and it is the wound that brings Klara into a human life in the first place. The child she is given to lives in a world where genuine companionship has become scarce, where young people are often isolated, kept apart, connected mostly at a distance. Into that loneliness steps a manufactured friend whose only purpose is to ease it. The book treats this with great gentleness, but it also asks a pointed question about the present. When connection becomes difficult, when people grow more separate from one another, what fills the empty space? The story does not condemn the child for needing Klara. It simply shows how deep the human hunger for companionship runs, and how that hunger will reach for whatever is offered to satisfy it. Have you ever noticed how a person starved of connection will pour their whole heart into whatever presence is nearest, simply because the need to be accompanied is so powerful? The symbolism woven through the book rewards close attention as well. The sun, which gives Klara her energy, becomes far more than a power source in her mind. It grows into a symbol of nourishment, mercy, and the possibility of healing. A source of warmth she trusts the way a hopeful heart trusts in something larger than itself. The author uses this carefully, never mocking Klara's reverence for the light, but allowing it to illuminate how human beings, too, seek out sources of hope to believe in when the world turns frightening. The story explores how the mind reaches for symbols of hope in its darkest hours, how a single steady source of light, real or imagined, can become the thing a person organizes their courage around. It invites you to consider what your own sun might be, the steady warmth you turn toward when you most need to believe that things can still come right. What lingers, finally, is the contrast between Klara's boundless attentiveness and the distracted way human beings so often move through their relationships. She misses nothing, she forgets no kindness, overlooks no quiet sorrow, and never stops trying to understand. The people around her, by contrast, are frequently too preoccupied, too burdened, too caught up in their own fears to see one another clearly. The book holds these two ways of being side by side and lets you feel the gap between them. It does not lecture about it. It simply lets you notice how much love can be lost, not through cruelty, but through inattention, and how much might change if the people in your life were seen with even a fraction of Klara's patient care. In the end, Klara and the Sun leaves you holding a feeling rather than a conclusion, a tenderness toward the people in your life, a renewed awareness of how rare it is to be truly seen, and a quiet wonder at the strange, unrepeatable thing that makes each person matter. It reminds you that attention is a form of love, that hope can be a kind of strength, and that the heart you carry is more mysterious and more valuable than you usually pause to consider. Stories like this one stay with you, not because of what happens in them, but because of what they help you notice about your own life. Books aren't just stories, they're mirrors that help us understand ourselves better. Comment below with the book you would like explored next and the character whose heart you most want to understand. If this kind of thoughtful, gentle book analysis speaks to you, consider liking and subscribing so more of it can find its way to you. This video uses AI-generated audio and visuals for educational purposes only. This is just one reader's personal thoughts and interpretations.